And Jim Ingles is on from Columbia, entering his 6th year as the head coach there. He'll be joined momentarily by seniors Ike Nweke and Luke Bolster, grad student Luke Bolster, as they're getting set to come on. Jim, just start off with your thoughts as you're about to embark on another season at Columbia.
No, it's just been really good to get back on the court with the guys. Obviously with all the stuff that's happened over the last 18, 19 months, it's just been good to be able to get into some normalcy with what the routines are for our guys and with the program. And, just excited we have a couple scrimmages coming up and getting excited for the season.
Jim, I would ask every coach this. I don't know if I'll have a chance to do it. I just think it's interesting. What did you focus on in the time off? Where do you think you improved as a coach in that time where you weren't actually able to coach your team day in and day out?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It was weird because there were so many things that your schedule is so regimented. And when the season was sort of taken away, I'm sure this is what everybody went through when everything they do with all different careers, but, being in your house and sort of being sequestered and, having the family around. And as a coach, you go at this, I've been doing this for over 30 years. So it was great just to spend some time with my family, honestly. And then from a career development standpoint, a lot of people sort of did some really good things. There was a lot of online clinics. A lot of people put together certain things that we could sort of interact with different people through Zoom. And it was just a lot of, sort of networking along those lines. So you would talk to different people. And I think that's where Zoom became very, very functional and very impactful for some of the things that we were trying, just to learn different things. So it was pretty good that way.
Now on with Columbia head coach Jim Ingles. Senior Ike Nweke has joined us as well. And Luke Bolster, grad student, will be joining momentarily. If you have a question, we lower all hands at the end of each session of each team. So you have a question now for coach or the players, please raise your hand again. Jim, what has practice been like the first couple of weeks as you guys have gotten back into it? How would you describe it?
It's like riding a bike, man. It's normal, It's been doing back into our normal routine, and the guys have been, we have a bunch of new guys, so we've been teaching a lot of different things, and but it's just been good to the competition factor and just all the little things that come with practice, and the guys have really responded extremely positively. I know they're really excited. We've talked about the opportunities and just the gratefulness that you never know with basketball, right? Basketball is such a huge part of our lives. It got taken away from us last year, and you have to take advantage of the moments that you're given. So the guys have been very, very good with that sort of thought and that sort of attitude. So, but it's been just trying to learn the different offenses and defenses and trying to understand techniques, and it's just been getting together and doing all the things that you normally do.
Open up for questions now. Remember, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function. We're going to go to Richard Kent from Ivy Hoops Online. Richard, kick us off. Thank you.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Hey, what's up, Richard?
Jim, can you talk a bit about the new Ivy schedule format and how it might impact your preparation for league games?
Yeah, it's I love it. I think it's going to be a great. Well, I mean, I personally, from my own personal standpoint, the weekends, we do still have the tradition of having some weekends, but sort of being able to expand and to alleviate some of I feel like the season was so compacted with some of the weekend stuff. So I think from a preparation standpoint, it sort of gives us the opportunity to, if you only have one game in a week, I think it allows you to really prep, and it allows you to do some different things that would allow the guys to recover. And then not having the Saturday sample to it is to me, it's, as an older man now, as I become older, it's tough on the coaches, the player. Everybody talks about how tough it is on the players. It's tough on the coaches. You're up for like 30, you're basically up from, you never sleep as a coach anyway, but you literally don't sleep for a whole weekend. So I think it alleviates some of that stress for us as well, so we can have some more time to prep for the next opponent.
Thank you.
Ike, what are your thoughts on the changing schedule and having a little more time off, or more practice time, I would assume, during these longer weeks.
Yeah, just kind of to echo off of Coach, I honestly kind of like it as well. Just giving you that extra day to prepare a little bit more, get the scout right a little bit more, and just to rest the body a little bit. You know, having games on Fridays and Saturdays, 2 years in a row now, just seeing that like the fatigue level can like kind of go up throughout the course of the season, because we have a long season, play 30 game season usually, and you're playing like every team like Friday, Saturday, and sometimes you might have to travel, and that's a whole other element to it. So I'd say like being able to like hone in on the specific component for that whole week or for however long that we may get, I feel like we could definitely benefit, because it just like eliminates the aspect of like getting more tired, obviously, just by expanding the schedule. So that's something that I'm definitely going to be looking forward to for sure.
Good stuff. I feel like we went about 3 straight years, Harvard to Dartmouth, with some sort of pile up or snowstorm, and got to either school at like 4 a.m. So that doesn't really help either. My game didn't help us either, but that's a whole side note. Let's get to Robert Brown from Ivy Hoops Online. Robert, you have a question? Go ahead.
Well, hi, Coach. It looks like about four-fifths of the starting lineup has graduated. Who are you looking to take charge this year to kind of fill those roles? And also, it looks like there's a bit of newness to the coaching staff. If you could talk about the new people who've arrived since the season ended in 2020.
Yeah, it is, it's just a function of what happens with the seasons, right? Your team changes, and so we're just in a cycle where we do have so many new guys. With the sophomore class, they're really considered freshmen as far as I'm concerned, even from an academic perspective, because last year they weren't really in class. So this is the first year they've been in a classroom setting with their classmates. So there's a lot of adjustment there. And having Luke Bolster back, Luke will be the only senior probably in the history of Columbia basketball to be a grad transfer. So that's a little trivia question for anybody who wants to use that as they go forward. So it's great to have Luke back and his experience. So, and then with the staff, it's just the same thing. We've had some guys move on to different places, and, you just make the necessary changes, put together the best staff possible for your program, and guys have been doing a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. Luke, thanks for joining us. And I'll actually, just going off of what Coach just said and the question, what's it like to be kind of one of the elder statesmen and not just deal with incorporating freshmen, but really freshmen and sophomores that have not played? How do you go about that role as a leader?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the biggest thing is just trying to get guys to understand the bigger picture. Especially with so many new guys, the focus guys can get really, hyper focused on, I need this many minutes. I need this stat next to my name. Like, just trying to remind guys that, this is really, it's a 4-year process. Even the season, it's like a 30 game process. So you can't get caught up in the little things. Obviously you have to maintain a focus on the details and practice and stuff. But the idea is that you're here to be a part of Columbia. You're here to be a part of something larger than yourself. So just reminding, usually with a typical incoming class, it's fewer guys that have to be reminded of that. But I would say that, that's been one of my main focuses coming in, just having been here for a long time. I've done my 4 years. This is my 5th year now. So I understand what the coaches want. I understand, what a good practice looks like, what a good rep looks like. And so I can really give guys that info. And that way it doesn't have to come from the coaches every time. There can be an element of players leading players, which coach always preaches. That's something that he wants and really values.
If you want to ask a question to Jim Engels, Ike Nweke, or Luke Bolster, please use the raise hand function. Ike, you had a good sophomore year, second league in offensive rebounds, but obviously we haven't seen you play in quite some time. How would you describe your game? How have you developed in that time off?
I kind of used the COVID year just to kind of hone in on a lot of my skills that I kind of already did well and kind of build outward. So primarily, I pretty much worked on like rebounding out of my position. Pretty much, I worked on kind of scoring not only the low post but the mid post as well, and just trying to like become like an all around and well balanced player. That was one thing that I feel like was just the next step in my game. Just trying to like add as many layers to like kind of create a fuller picture and kind of like round out my game a little bit. So just being able to like be in multiple spots and being able to like still do everything that I did well my sophomore year and build off of that, but just like moving outward and kind of like seeing how what I did there and what made me successful and like how I can use what made me successful in different spots. So hopefully I'll be able to do that this season. So I know that I will be able. I know that I'll be ready. Yeah.
Thank you, Ike. If you want to ask a question to any one of the players or coach, please use the raise hand function. We'll go back to Robert Brown from Ivy Hoops Online now. Robert.
Oh, hi. This is for Ike and Luke. Kind of building on that idea of leadership. You know, there have been so many close games, 1 or 2 possessions that have not gone your way the last few years. As team leaders, what do you feel you've got to do to kind of get you guys over the hump so that you're on the right end of those decisions?
I think that the biggest thing is understanding, you know, different moments throughout the game. We had my sophomore year, we had a team slogan, winning time. And that was sort of when we talked, that was a moment in the game where we, as a team, sort of referenced the fact that this is where the win happens. You know, it's not necessarily at the buzzer. It's not necessarily, you know, with 2 minutes left. It could be that second media in the second half where we've just gone on a little bit of a run and now sustaining it through the end of the game. That's winning time. So, you know, that last 8 minutes or that last, you know, that second half. So the idea that little things build into wins. It's not, the game isn't won right at the end. So I would say, you know, maintaining that perspective. And, you know, Ike and I, obviously we've been in a lot of close games. And so we'll be able to talk guys through and sort of bring a level-headedness to it because, yeah, you know, that result, it doesn't always come, it doesn't always fall your way, but the idea is that you know, if you're doing things the right way, that those wins will come. So reminding guys of that and, you know, trying to maintain perspective in that, right?
Yeah, just to kind of echo Luke, the perspective that I kind of have going into this season is just knowing that everything matters and you can't really take anything for granted. I feel like that's like one thing that like a lot of people kind of learn, like even with the COVID year and everything, it's like literally at any point, at any moment, like anything can happen. And it's really up to you to like kind of take control of what is going on in that moment and kind of make it yours. And that's something that I kind of try to live by as well. And I try to tell all the freshmen and sophomores and all the team really pretty much, and even to tell myself that like, I can't really get caught up in like a certain play that happened before and to just stay in this moment. And if I'm detailed enough in this moment, and if I'm detailed enough to try to stay focused and to obviously persevere and win the game that we want to win, I feel as though that there's no way that we can't be successful because staying detailed in our approach and staying detailed in the way, in the manner that we want to go out and execute, that's only going to be a benefit for us and it's only going to work in our favor. So I'm really excited to see how that detail goes into play.
Thank you, Robert. If you want to ask a question, use the raise hand function. Jim, you guys open up your season November 9th at Fordham, the historic Rose Hill Gym. A lot of your games are in the Northeast. Was there any difference to your approach in scheduling, given the layoff and given the relative, you know, unfamiliarity of your team, or in terms of their experience, I should say? Was there any difference in your approach of scheduling this year?
Yeah, definitely. It's with all the COVID stuff, you know, I was afraid to get on a plane. I didn't know if that would be something that would be, we had some things set up for the year prior that with different contract stipulations and stuff. If the games got canceled, then there's a lot of different business functions that go into it. So I wanted to keep it as local as possible. And with an entirely new team, making the travel, everybody thinks is extravagant and stuff like that. It becomes tough. These kids are under a lot of pressure from an academic perspective and also to perform on the court. So the easier the travel situation for them, having them back on campus or closer to campus, I think is just going to help them get through the year, especially with so many new kids. So, we're going to play Fordham. We're going to play at BC. Most of our other games are going to be local. I would guess you would consider local rivalries. And, obviously with the league schedule being a little bit expanded, I think that helps as well.
If you want to ask a question for Luke or Ike or Coach, please raise your hand, use the raise hand function. Coach, another question for you. How are you going to manage the roster size? This goes for pretty much every coach in the league is, 15 to 20 guys. How do you go about managing rosters and making sure everybody is kind of staying in the collective group that maybe, may not see any time? It's a great question. We have 17 guys on the roster right now. We have a lot of, sometimes some stuff unfortunately is uncontrollable. So you do have guys get injured and stuff, and that sort of takes care of some of those things that you might be implying. But it's really about making sure these guys understand. We have a scrimmage coming up tomorrow, so for the first time, I think we'll have an opportunity as a group to really, get against an opponent. And then you start to see exactly where, the different strengths and weaknesses are for your team against a different team. Like you got to obviously get an idea, and you have an idea of what's going on with your own team, but until you get on a court with somebody else. So it's going to be good for our guys just to see, role definition, where they see themselves, where we see them. And I think to a man, these guys have been awesome in regards to we've had excellent practices. Guys have really been pushing each other. Finding different positions and different things. We've had some injuries, nothing season ending, thankfully, but we've had a lot of injuries right now. So we've been limited a little bit with our team. So we've had guys stepping into different positions. And I think that's just part of the natural progression of the season, and all that stuff starts to take care of itself as we get closer to the season. For Ike and Luke, and Ike, maybe you go first. Obviously, Coach just mentioned you have a scrimmage tomorrow. In a regular year, you're tired of playing against each other in a regular year. Well, now this is on steroids. So, Ike, you go first. What's the feeling like going into a scrimmage tomorrow? What's that feel like?
One word I can give it is just excited, elated to be playing. I kind of lost track of the days. I think it was like 617 or something that we haven't played a game. So it's just going to be awesome. Like, just to be able to just go out there and see what we have and play against a very talented opponent. Iona is well coached. They're scrappy. They're going to try to ruffle our feathers. But I know that all the preparation that we've kind of put into getting to where we are now and getting the guys ready mentally, just, having a young team means that we have to hone in on what they kind of think and how they think is going to be how they perform, and what values and what standards that we kind of hold and uphold as a team is going to kind of show throughout the course of the game, thus throughout the course of the season. So it's just, I'm honestly really excited because I really feel like we can do some damage this year, and I'm glad to just be playing again and with a group of guys that really want it. So that's all you can really ask for.
Luke, anything to follow up there?
Yeah, I would echo everything Ike said. We've been in the gym, we've been playing each other. It's going to be really fun to have an opponent on the court and get to play as a team rather than against one another. So can't come soon enough.
Thanks a lot, Luke, Ike, Coach Engels. Appreciate your time. See you guys on the court November 9th against Fordham. Thank you.
Thanks, Dal.
Thank you.
Thank you.